Good evening. And new tonight, we're hearing from Elise Stefanik for the first time since her nomination as UN ambassador was pulled by President Donald Trump. Stefanik will now continue to represent New York's 21st congressional district. Here's her reaction on Fox News tonight.
As Democrats, as we see in New York State, it is totally corrupt. Kathy Hochul started threatening to move the ball on the election date. You see a highly politicized radical left trying to do everything they can to defeat the president. And this is about stepping up as a team. And I am doing that as a leader.
Donald Trump said he's looking forward to having Stefanik in his administration in the future, but adding that he didn't want to take a chance on anyone else running for Elise's seat right now. So let's expand the conversation to the major players in all of this. You see Dan Steck, state senator, backed by the Conservative Party, but then you also have Anthony Constantino, the Sticker Mule CEO, with the backing of the lights of Roger Stone. Constantino saying if he wasn't the nominee, he'd seriously consider filing as an independent, all to beat Democratic nominee Blake Gendabine, the farmer from Lisbon near the Canadian border.
You don't want to deal with uncertainty when you have a sure thing. So she's a sure thing.
In November, New York's 21st district certainly was a sure thing. Elise Stefanik and Donald Trump beating Democrats by 20 points. So what's happened since then?
I think in the short term, there is concern that, the seat would be vacant, and that's one less vote on the Republican agenda.
With just a 5-person majority in legislation the Trump administration wants to pass, Lee Maringoff says the length of that vacancy in that seat is a factor. This timing goes back to a conversation in February inside the New York State Capitol, where lawmakers were close to delaying the special election until November with support from Governor Hochul.
So in one sense, the time frame that we're dealing with now, whether it's Assembly, Senate, or Congress, is phenomenally short, especially in comparison to what other states do.
Hochul ended up pulling the bill. It hasn't been discussed much since. But also since February, Democrats flipped a special election seat in Pennsylvania, and Democrats are putting major funding into a special election in Florida in April.
The biggest worry for Republicans is what happens when Donald Trump isn't actually on the ballot. And they have a much harder time, as they did in 2018, with that scenario.
That brings us to the faith Donald Trump had in Stefanik's Republican replacement, of which Trump said he didn't want to take a chance on. Potentially the party's uncertainty growing as Anthony Constantino questioned the Conservative Party's backing of Dan Steck in New York. At a town hall outside the district tonight, Constantino himself saying he would have split the ticket.
We're in the situation we're in now because I think the president didn't want to split ticket with a Trump hater on the conservative line and somebody that's a strong supporter like myself on the Republican line.
The Republican Party did not choose a candidate. Generally, the Conservative and Republican parties try to align their nominees. As mentioned in the past, Constantino had suggested running as an independent if he did not get the Republican nod. Speaker Mike Johnson sending out this statement today saying, quote, Elise Stefanik is truly a great leader and devoted patriot. Today's selfless decision shows America what those of us who work with her already know. She's deeply devoted to her country and fully committed to see President Trump's agenda succeed in Congress. I will invite her to return to the leadership table immediately. 20th District Rep, Democrat Paul Tonko sending us this. Donald Trump chickened out because he was terrified Republicans are going to lose a seat he won by 21 points just 5 months ago. This is another proof point that Trump's reckless and cruel policies are being outwardly rejected by the vast majority of Americans. We spoke to a lot of these major players on Power and Politics in the last few months. You can hear it every week. Scan that QR code on your screen and listen wherever you get your podcasts.